Muted.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Society Insurance Risk Control webinar. The topic is reducing slip and falls. The webinar will be about 60 minutes long. I got about 60 slides, so we'll kind of move through them rather quickly. This is our first webinar that we're holding, so if we have any technical problems or what have you, please bear with us. Little thing about Society Insurance, we were founded in 1915 as a work comp insurance carrier. So we recently just celebrated our 100th anniversary. We are a regional insurance carrier, and we focus on business niches such as restaurants, taverns, supermarkets, convenience stores, hotel, motel, and contractors. Along with work comp, we also provide property, liability, and auto coverage, focusing on small details that make the most difference. So we'll first I'll start out with want to do a little quiz. Okay, here it is. Slip and falls are leading cause of emergency room visits for most age groups. True or false? You should be able to select that on your screen, and we'll see that here. So it looks like 100% of you voted true, which it is true. Why don't we go? Let's go to the first slide. Okay. So slip and falls. Pardon me. Slip and falls are the most significant loss exposure for a business. The hazard for both customers, guests, and employees. So that exposure is covered with the insurance policies as far as the general liability and the work comp policies who cover that exposure. There are tools that can be used to reduce the potential for slip and falls in your business. And we'll go into details on these, and those are floor mats, maintaining steps and stairways, and proper floor care and spill cleanup. So we'll start with floor mats. So weather conditions could mean rain, obviously wet, snow, ice-covered walkways, surfaces, and the potential for a trip, slip, and fall hazard between the outdoor unheated spaces and the indoor heated spaces. So in addition to the rainwater that people are bringing in, tracking in, you also have the ice and snow that would melt and cause wet floors and a slip fall exposure. Floor mats are covered. The standard that's applicable to floor matting is the American National Standard Guide for Commercial Entrance Matting in Reducing Slip, Trip, and Falls, which was developed by the NFSI in cooperation with ANSI. So what floor mats should do is basically stop the soil and water at the door off of people's shoes, off of carts, what have you. and then the mat should be able to store the soil and water to be removed in the cleaning process later on. Mat should also minimize tracking of the soil and water. Mat should be slip resistant. They shouldn't have any ripples or curls, and also stay in place if they're hit by a cart, so they don't move and what have you. Finding the right spot for mats. So we got different zones. We have the entrance zone, which is your basic front entrance, your back doors, side doors, and employee entrances. Now, majority of our slip falls occur at the front entrance, which makes the most sense with people tracking in the water and snow and ice. High-risk zones, which are from the bathroom to the hallway, around ice machines, prep sinks. Also, produce aisles are an also high-risk zone. Then we have the high-traffic zones, which are hallways, checkout stations at a grocery store or what have you, lead out from a kitchen, those types of things. And also the last zone would be a productivity zone, which is workstations, customer service areas, those types of things. So we'll start right here is an example of an entranceway. The door is here, obviously right in front of us here. Like I said, this is where most guests, customers, employees slip and fall at the front entrance. Now, typically, as far as walk-off, and we'll get into that a little later, but a 6-foot mat collects 40% of the dirt and water coming in. And then a 12-foot mat basically doubles it. You have 80% of the water and dirt. And 36-foot of matting collects 99% of the water and dirt. So as you can see here, it appears that they have more than enough matting. So you want to make sure that, additionally, you want to make sure when you're putting matting near a door that the mats don't move, get caught in the door, then you of course have a trip fall exposure in addition to a slip fall exposure. Here's an example of a produce aisle. This would be a high-risk zone. I'm sure as all of us know, a produce area, they have areas that they would spray some of the produce with water, and that can drip down and get on the floor, becoming very slippery. So mats are very important in front of the produce counter and produce cases like that. Here's an example. This is a high traffic zone, the customer checkout. Here is an example of the productivity zone, which this appears to be a customer service counter. Now here is this is a high-risk zone, which is basically in a kitchen, a cooking and sink area. These mats are not only help employees with, say, stress on their backs and what have you from standing, they're also help with the drainage, water, and the increased traction in a kitchen. It's difficult, though, to keep these clean. They can collect grease and food and what have you. So it's very important to clean these daily in a kitchen. Now, next there are a couple examples of areas that do not have mats. Here's a high-risk zone with no mat. You have a water dispenser area. Obviously, water can get on the floor and be a slip hazard there. And then next to that is a produce area that where mats would be needed. Now this area, again, here's a high-risk zone of the produce area. So a mat would be typically needed in front of this. So the kind of the matting and grading guidelines, we'll just kind of go through these bullet points here. Use recessed absorbent walk-off matting to control migration of soil and liquid hazards in all interior doorways that lead to the outside. Inspect and clean them daily, preferably. Use low-profile abrasive matting in areas where grease, oil, and other hazardous liquids may be present. Ensure mats whose thickness are 1/4 inch or greater. They may pose a trip hazard. The edges should be beveled with a contracting color. Select mats with a slip-resistant backing. Excuse me. What surfaces, so it doesn't. So there's no surfboarding, which is basically the mat not clinging to the floor and the mat moving easily. As I stated earlier, the walk-off of a 36-foot mat takes off about 99% of the soil and water. And employees should be, employees should be designated to inspect the mats often to make sure that they're in place and not being oversaturated. And as I stated, the mat should be cleaned often by the staff or an outside vendor, which a lot of companies have. Here's an example of recessed walk-off matting. As you can see, the main entrance in the back there is quite a mat there, and then again coming through the secondary door, there's plenty of walk-off. That looks like that could be approximately, 99% of water and soil should be removed when that person hits the actual floor in the store. Again, here's an example where you don't want these sliding doors to interfere with the mat, be moved into the doorway and result in a trip fall hazard. Here's an example now of matting that may not be adequate. You have the smaller mat in the back at the initial door, and then you have a mat here at the secondary door. This does not provide adequate walk-off. Next one. So here's an example of cardboard being used in front of a sink. Cardboard should not be used. It's not approved by the standard. It doesn't absorb enough. It also can move. There's also concern with sanitation, that type of thing. So absolutely, cardboard should not be used as matting in any instance. So here's some more matting and grading guidelines. Routinely inspect mats for buckling, curling, and material defects. Inspect floor grates to ensure that they are level with the surrounding walkway surfaces. The size of the opening in the grate should be small enough so not to allow a shoe heel to catch. Do not place mats over uneven or damaged surfaces. Additionally, occasionally we see this where mats are being taped down so they don't move. They're taped down with duct tape or what have you. If the mat is moving or it's curling, it's time to be replaced. So no use of tape. Here's a backside of a mat that's beginning to be worn, and it could obviously lead to further deterioration, and the mat would start slipping, and kind of showing that not only is the under part of the mat being worn, I'm sure that the top of it is probably not as absorbent and as well as it should be. So this is time to replace this mat. Here's a mat that's wrinkled. He calls a trip and fall. Also, this could move over into this opening and cause even a bigger trip fall hazard. So as far as securing the mats properly to the floor to prevent curling, buckling, migration, be sure to make sure that the backing and the floor surface underneath are clean. And when I say secure, that means you don't use tape or what have you. You just make sure that the mat is down, that if the mat is in good condition, it should be able to take care of itself. And the floor needs to be clean and dry before you put those mats down so they don't move. Now we're on to stairs and stairway. Basically, all stairs can be hazardous of some type. People fall down stairs, getting hurt or even killed in the process. In North America, tens of thousands of people get injured a year from falls on stairs. Stairs should be in safe condition and be of suitable design and dimensions for their use. There should be sufficient lighting, handrails at an appropriate height with contrast with surroundings, good slip-resistant properties, particularly at the leading edge, clearly marked edges, and the stairway should be free of trip hazards or obstacles. So it's very important. Something we see all the time, or I should say frequently, is storage on stairways, and we got some slides on that. Additionally, the lighting is very important to have good lighting. So step dimensions, research indicates that risers heights between 6 to 8 inches and tread widths of 10 to 13 inches are most comfortable and fit most people's preferences. Optimal stair dimensions are 7.2 riser height with either a 11 or 12 inch thread width. So there's your dimensions. Step nosing should be readily discernible, slip resistant, and adequately it's a tough word, demarcated, which means, yeah, as you can see here, I recommend using a more understood word, and that word means just that it stands out and you can catch it with your eye. Stairs should be free of merchandise displays and advertisements. 2 sets of railings should be provided to help trip falls and slip falls. Now, 2 handrails, some building codes don't require that, but best practices recommend 2 handrails. So here's a good example of a stairway. Looks like at a loft, maybe at the back of a grocery store. 2 handrails, and that looks like an excellent stairway. No storage on it. Looks good. Here's a stairway with 2 handrails, but you got a little bit of storage on the stairway. It's probably temporary, but it's still a trip hazard that could happen in a minute. So, but good sturdy hand railings here. Here again are items on a stairway that are a trip fall hazard. The stairway has only one hand railing. Again, building code might not require that, but if it's a good idea if the room is there and it's not building code. Again, items on the stairway are trip fall, and they should be removed. So here's short stairs or single steps. They must be equipped with obvious visual clues to assist with identification, such as hand railings, nosing edges, tactical cues, warning signs, contrasting surface colors, or accent lighting. Need 2 sets of handrails to prevent the trip fall, slip fall. Again, building code may vary, not necessarily. Again, best practices would be a good idea. So here's a short stairway. Looks like it's at like a Applebee's type restaurant. Again, one thing that could be used is like a footlight. Again, with that, sometimes they burn out and not replaced. So it's a good idea if you do have footlights to keep the maintenance up on those. Again, here you got 2 hand railings. Basically, they have everything. The 2 hand railings. They got everything you probably want to see on a stairway. Here's no hand railings on a basement stairs. Looks like also the slip resistant marking on some of the stairs are missing or coming up. So again, hand railings and the anti-slip, slip resistant type marking is needed on this stairway. Okay, here's a short step that probably could use a center handrail to kind of reduce that slip, trip, fall hazard. Also maybe some type of slip resistant material on the step. And also just, again, make sure that proper lighting is needed. Falls occur here, I believe, more frequently on these type of stairs. They're not expecting it. Older folks may fall in this type of situation. So okay, here's a 3-step stairway without hand railing. Again, building code may not require it. At least 1 hand railing would probably be a good idea here. Here's a 2-step stairway. Now, hand railing necessarily might not be needed here. Also, the mat, not necessarily needed. I'm not sure of the situation of this photo taken. The mat, maybe there's something wet coming through there. They're carrying wet product or what have you that's falling on the floor. But again, as far as the handrail, not required by building code, but would be beneficial here in this situation. Safe, excuse me, safe stairs and stairways. Again, to reiterate, reduce trip, falls, injuries, slip injuries. Help to reduce general liability and work comp premiums, and help prevent injuries or loss of life claims, are the point of having stair safety and slip fall reduction type things. Next area we're going to talk about is floor care, which is extremely important. Floors should be cleaned daily during non-peak business hours. Find the proper cleaning product. All cleaning products are not created equal. They vary in strength, purpose, and application. Consider your flooring materials. May it be wood, linoleum, stone, carpet. Each floor needs a different type of cleaning method or chemical. And then what type of contamination is there? Is it something at the front entrance where it's mainly dirt and water? Is it the kitchen where you have grease? Is it the bathroom where you, the restrooms where you have other types of contaminants? So you have to take that into consideration. So, but also, like I said, very important that the correct cleaner is used for the floor that's being cleaned. And so the bottle, the label should have all the information you need. And then as far as cleaning, like it says, non-peak hours, either after closing or before opening in the morning. Cleaning agents should be properly labeled. Employees should be trained on proper steps for cleaning agents. Consider using separate mops for different areas to reduce the potential of cross-contamination. So one mop for the kitchen, one mop for the restrooms, another one for the front of house. We highly recommend that separate mops are used for different areas. You don't want to use the same mop for the restrooms that you use in the kitchen. You're kind of carrying the contaminations into different parts of the restaurant. Also, color coding of the mops are recommended. And then the mop, the bucket that you use, if you use a brush also, those should all be colored the same, so they're kept with that particular cleaning of that area. As excuse me, as floors age, they also lose their traction factor and become slippery. Slip-resistant floor treatments can apply light chemical etching to assist in this issue. Inspect your floors regularly to ensure that they are still in satisfactory condition. Many kitchens now, especially new construction, have non-slip floors, and as it states, the floors should be inspected every day. As they're cleaned, they should be obviously inspected at that time. So here's an example of cleaning chemicals that are hooked up to the water supply to provide the proper mix ratio, which we see this a lot at hotels, motels, restaurants, those types of things. And it kind of takes the mixing and what have you out of the employee's hands, and makes it pretty easy to just fill it up and go. Obviously, on those labels, you should read the labels to determine which chemicals are used for the location of the floor and the contaminant. Again, floors in the dining room may use a different chemical than, say, the kitchen or the restroom or what have you. Now here's a deck brush, which can be used for deep cleaning. Looks like here it's being used in the back part of a kitchen. So the cleaning process, after you initially wet the floor with a mop, a deck brush like this would be used for at least a handful of minutes to loosen up the dirt and grease, and then you go back over it with a mop to remop it and pick all that loose stuff up. All right, so here's again a deck brush. We talked about color coding. So this deck brush is color coded towards matching with the broom and the bucket. Not the broom, but the mop and the bucket. And so here's an example of that. As we stated before, you need to be sure to read the labels, because this particular degreaser can be used inside or out. Additionally, check with the MSDS sheet on different hazards with the chemical. Check to see what kind of personal protective equipment may be necessary, say gloves or what have you. So it's very important. All the information should be right on the manufacturer label, and it should also tell you what kind of floors to use it for and that kind of stuff. Here again is color coding of the buckets, the mop buckets. And then next slide here is the color coding, the matching color coding for the mops. So again, you can color code the mops, brushes, buckets. Can be very, very beneficial in the sanitation and cleaning of the floors. Now here's an example of poor storage practices in a mop sink. Obviously, you have cross-contamination here, and more organization of the mop buckets and mops will keep not only contamination but just make things easier for the employees and who have to clean the floor. So here's an example of a good storage practices. So proper storage of the equipment can make the floor cleaning easier, and again reduce the cross-contamination of the floors. So next slide is going to talk about spill cleanup. Proper spill cleanup is an integral part of reducing slip and falls. Keep in mind when the spill occurs, either during peak hours or after business hours. So I guess one question is, who's responsible for cleaning up a spill? Well, the answer is the responsibility of cleaning up a spill belongs to the person who discovered the spill, or they are responsible for adequately marking it until it can be cleaned up. It can't be passed off to management who finds the spill, dishing it off to somebody else or what have you. It's got to be whoever finds it is responsible for kind of the whole operation of start to finish on the cleanup. So here's the effective spill cleanup during business hours. We want to block off the area immediately. Have someone additionally have somebody stand to alert customers and block off the whole area. Customers or guests, keep customers away from the spill is very important, and signage and an attendant can be used. As far as sign placement for the warning signs, display signs to inform customers a spill has occurred. Signs should be placed in order to alert customers and provide enough advance notice to plan an alternate route. One thing, some restaurants you'll see maybe at the soda dispenser area, I see it there, they leave the signs up permanently, which is something that you don't want to do. It'll cause basically repeat customers will basically just ignore the signs, and even if a spill occurs, they'll just ignore the signs. So a sign should be taken down after the spill has been cleaned up and everything is dry. So additionally, you want to brush or sweep up any broken glass during the cleanup process. That can contaminate not only somebody's hurt a customer with broken glass, but also contaminate your other products or what have you. Then you sweep and mop the spill right away. Here's another example of a brush and then the mop bucket. And then use a squeegee or even a wet vac to clean and dry mop to remove any dampness from the floor. Again, you keep the wet signs up until the floor is completely dry, and then you want to remove those. Again, the repeat customers will basically just ignore those signs. As far as cleanup, proper cleanup during off hours, basically the cleaning during off hours, as I stated before, you prepare the solution as directed on the product and the label, and then you go over the floor, you wet mop the floor, kind of loosening up any dirt, and then you go on to using a deck brush to scrub, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to loosen up the grease or dirt that's into the floor. And then you want to go back through and use a fresh, you got to get total fresh water, fresh clean water, and then again go over that floor to mop to remove any remaining grease or cleaning solution. Very important to get the cleaning solution so it won't dry on, as that could also be a slip hazard there too. So I guess in summary of the whole thing, we kind of went through that pretty quickly. Again, slip, trips, and falls are the most common loss business experience. Like I stated before, its frequency is probably the number one, well, it is the number one as far as claims in both work comp and liability. Taking proper steps to care for and clean floors will have a positive impact on your operations. Placing floor mats at entrances and areas that have potential for hazards will help keep your employees and customers safe. So that's in a nutshell the webinar on reducing slip and falls. We have information on our website that you can download as far as reducing slip and falls. We also have many videos that you can stream pertaining to the topic and what have you. If you have any questions, please give me a call. Again, my name is Blair Arndt, and I'm the Risk Control Rep for Society Insurance. My phone number is 608-576-9460, and my email address also is barndt@societyinsurance.com. Thank you, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.